Hi, welcome to another episode of the Caroline Glick Show. I have a special guest for you today, Haim Bernstein. I met Haim. First of all, welcome, Haim, to the Caroline Glick Show.
My honor.
So I met Haim last Thursday night. We were on a show together on Israel's Channel 14, and it said in the lineup of the show that there was a bereaved father whose son was the commander of the Nahal Brigade's reconnaissance unit. And I saw this man in front of me, sitting next to me, actually, who looked like he was wearing a uniform, and he looked like he was in his 30s. And so I assumed it wasn't him. And I said, I saw the name Haim Bernstein on the lineup, and I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Haim." And I said, "Really? You have a son who was the commander of the Nahal Reconnaissance Brigade?" And the answer is yes. And I was really just blown away by his story, and discovered that he spoke English, and immediately pounced upon him and asked him if he would come on the podcast. And so lo and behold, he was nice enough to say yes. And here he is to share his story, which is huge, with us today. So first of all, again, welcome to the show. So your son, Yohonatan Zur, who Hebraized the name Bernstein, he was 33 years old, and on October 7th. And what happened to him that day? What happened?
Well, that day was Simchat Torah in Shabbat, because he didn't have any indication in advance that something might happen. He was home, and very early in the morning got a phone call from one of his officers.
Before 6:30 when the invasion started, or after?
The minute it started.
Okay.
Because they saw something is happening, some catastrophic happening is developing. So he right away took his car and went to the south. It took what it took.
And he lives in
Kedumim, that's in Shomron, Samaria.
So it's far away.
It's far away, but he drove very quickly. I assume, I know. On the way, he had few conversations on the phone with his commander, Yonathan Steinberg.
Who was also killed.
The
commander of the Nahal Infantry Brigade.
Yeah. And even had a long conversation with the commander of the
Karakal unit.
Karakal. She needed his advice what to do with her soldiers in this catastrophe that is developing. So he had a long conversation with her. She thanked us afterwards. She said he saved their lives with his advice.
Does the Karakal was at the Sufa base?
I don't know where the Karakal sat. The Sayeret.
The recon unit.
Yeah, like American Green Berets. They were in a Kerem Shalom area.
Uh-huh.
It's the southest.
The southernmost point.
Of Gaza.
Right.
And when he entered to the area, after he passed Ofakim and Kibbutz Olim, he met a squad of terrorists. Didn't even stop. He ran over a few of them, bumped into a motorcycle with two of them too. And the last thing he could do, that was the end of his abilities, to smash himself with the car as strong as he could into the vehicle with a heavy machine gun on it, the truck, and to ruin it. But that's where his life came to end to. His car and him himself were all full of holes.
So when he crashed the vehicle into the pickup truck with the roof-mounted machine gun, he had already been shot.
Yeah, that's the last act that he did. I guess he knew in that second that that's his last act.
And tell me a little bit about his life.
Well, of course, I'm his father, so every father thinks his child is the most special child in the world.
Your child was pretty special.
But my child was he really was special. He was gifted. It's a child that was born and raised on the mountains of Shomron, Samaria, near the Shechem.
Shechem.
Yeah, I learned those days in yeshiva in Kever Yosef, Tomb of Joseph.
In the tomb of Joseph, in the...
Yeah. And we lived in Yitzhar. He was a very curious child and very talented. Everything he touched just succeeded. To be an expert to be a blacksmith with iron, real iron, and wood, and agriculture, and animals, and motorcycles, and physics, and technology, and computers, and to take the goats out and bring them back in and milk them. And he had special charm of making friends.
He was really handsome too.
He was handsome too. Yeah, he was handsome too. But well, you know, he made me a father. He was. You know, I met a friend of his that came to the funeral. A friend from the beginning of the army. That means 15 years ago. And my son, when he started the army, he in the first few years, he was in a special forces. And
which one? It was Sheldag?
Sheldag, yeah. And his friend told me, you know, Yonathan was the youngest of us all. We celebrated his 18th birthday while we were in the army. But though he was the youngest of us all, he was the best commander I ever had in the army. He was really gifted.
What was it about his command that made him distinct?
He was a leader that everything had to be perfect, but his relationship with everyone, officers, and even the guy that cooks in the kitchen, he was a friend. And if a soldier didn't have a washing machine at home, he had few new immigrants from Ethiopia. So on the weekend, Yonathan went and he got him a washing machine. That was him. No distance between the soldier and the officer. But when he had to say his truth, he said it loudly and clearly.
So he was able to assert his authority while still not looking down at them.
Authority without using force.
I remember when I was in the officer course, we learned that there was a disease that all the new officers got, and I certainly had it, which was called sagemed, which is sort of second lieutenant-itis, where you come in and you're a junior officer and you don't understand what that means, and you think that you're supposed to be able to just snap out orders like they do in the movies of the U.S. Army, and everybody's going to, salute, and it takes a while for some people to figure out, no, that's not how it works. That's not how you have authority, because everybody's young. So it's very impressive that he was able to do that from the outset.
Truth is, he was never a Sagam.
Yeah? He was never second lieutenant? How was that?
Because when you come from the special forces, the time that you have the to practice before you're sent to Badichat, the office.
Officer training course.
Yeah, is approximately 2 years.
So
So after the course, you get your Segen.
first you started.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So he was in Shaldag, and then he moved to the Nahal Recon.
No. After Shaldag, he went to be the first officer of a new unit that was developed called Rimon.
Okay.
Ofer Winter was the commander of Givati, and he was involved in developing Rimon. So Yonathan was the first team leader in Rimon, and he did there several. Was a team leader. Then he was called Faked Palgat Lochamim.
He was head of a squad of soldiers.
Yeah,
In the special forces.
so he was for a few years there. It was a chance for him to make a change because it was a beginning of a unit, so he could really bring in all his specialties in navigating, in hiding, and commando techniques. He brought it from Shaldag and from the mountains and
In Samaria.
yeah.
Because one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that one of the groups in Israel that is particularly maligned by the media here, the left-wing media, and then through them by the American media and the global media, is what they refer to as Hilltop youth. People particularly from the hills of Samaria, the mountains of Samaria, young men who go out and they farm and they ranch. And actually, Yonathan was one of them before he went into the army.
Well, it reminds me an article that we had to learn many years ago in the university, an article that was written by Kurt Levin, and the name is Sinat Tzmit Etzel HaYehudim.
Jewish self-hatred.
Yep. He was a
Sociologist, yep.
and he explained why Jews hate themselves so much, why Jews hate other Jews that look more Jewish outside, why they feel that you're spoiling my effort not to be such a Jew.
I don't want to be a Jewy Jew. Why?
Yeah, Jewy Jew. And that's nice. Yeah, so I think it's really ugly what they do to these youngsters, especially, and all the settlers in Yehuda v'Shomron. I still have children there, married. I have grandchildren there.
Hey, I live there. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise children. Maybe the best,
It's not just a great place to live. It's a very important place to live in.
So that's the thing, is that, really the reason why the Hilltop youth in many cases receive such a bad rap is because they are securing Israel's possession of Judea and Samaria, because they don't just, go to the community center and play ping pong or whatever in the evenings. They wake up in the morning and they go protect the hills with their sheep and their goats.
Yeah, and I think they speak a little bit different language, because you said it's a great place to raise children. And they say it's a very important place to raise children. So today, in this new age, to talk about a very important thing to do for the nation, it's out of fashion. It's not the language that we used to hear or speak.
How did you raise him?
I raised him, not only me.
You and your wife.
Me and my ex-wife, and the community and his teachers. I'm just one of many. That is a child of the Jewish nation, and we have a shlichut.
We have a mission.
We have a mission, a big mission. Then the connection between us and this country is not because it grows excellent fruit and vegetables, although it do grow excellent fruit and vegetables, It's because this special nation and this special land, this special holy land, are connected together to our special mission for all Jews, for all mankind, for all the world. We're Jews, we have a mission. We didn't come here just to play or just to have fun. And it's important for us to do it. And sometimes we pay prices. Sometimes it's economical prices, you know. You're from the States. My parents are from the States. It's easier there, I'm sure. I was born and raised here, but I'm sure it's easier there. I never had a tiny thought to use my American passport to go back there. I didn't arrange passports to my children. And now my parents that were born and raised in the States, they always taught us that Jews have to be here no matter the cost. So we raise our beautiful child that way. It's not the only thing, you know. A guitar has 6 meitarim.
Yeah, 6 strings.
Yeah, so the love to people, love to your people, but love for all people. They be connected to the nature and, you know, many strings. But one of the strings, very basic one, is me as a part of the nation. And sometimes it costs. Sometimes it costs money, time. It makes your options smaller. Sometimes it even costs your life. As we know now, the war is going on, and our beautiful children, all these beautiful guys, get killed.
A lot of them. A lot of them. So what is the mission?
You know, we were raised on the Jewish mission to be a Mamlechet Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. That means
A holy nation, a nation of priests, and a holy nation.
Yeah, that means you can be an individual that lives a holy life from every nation, in every country. But to be a nation that lives as a nation, with its army, with its economy, with its wealth and education, that takes the earth and the sky and make them connected, make Ruchni and Gashmi together.
And are able to bring the spiritual and the material together.
Yeah, that's we are Shlichei Tzibur to do that for all mankind, so they can follow.
So we're supposed to be that joining point, leading humanity to join the spiritual, the holy, and the mundane together. And it's our job to do that. So when, the Hilltop youth are attacked as being violent, as I don't know what.
Israeli soldiers are now attacked, being violent.
Everybody who defends the Jews are attacked and criminalized. And so how did Yonathan see the idea of living out? He also built his home for his wife and his children on a hilltop in Ketumim. So he had a very clear sense of topography, of where a house should be, and how to raise a family. What was his thought about that? How did he see?
Well, he had his beliefs, and they were very. I need your help.
No, it's okay. They were very clear.
Very clear. And he knew that one day his beliefs will stop his path in the army, that he won't be able to be in high places in the army.
And we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, okay.
Leave that on the side. I promise we'll get right back to it.
Okay. But as my father, may
Rest.
may his soul rest in peace, he used to tell us always that you do your best, and God will do the rest. So I used to tell that my children too. Every one of us has to do his best. Everyone has a special field to do it. So my child was a soldier, another child is the economics and אגף התקציבים.
He works at the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, and I'm a social worker and a therapist. And what we have to do, everything that we can do in the best way. That's a part of being one of this nation. And he did a hell of a good job. His job.
He did. So when you said that he thought that he knew that he would be blocked from being promoted in the military
One day.
Why did you just assume that? Is take that for granted?
No, that it's not an assume. I'm certain of that. I can see the chief masters of the army of today. They all speak the same language.
What
language that sees the world through the individual, that sees the world through material matters. That what helped to develop the way of thinking that if Arabs in Gaza will have enough jobs and enough money from Qatar will enter, everything will be quiet. And they said it once and twice and 10. And if when they send rockets, I live where the rockets fall. It will just answer with small power, not too much, so they can calm down too. My son couldn't agree to that kind of thought. He believed that the world is basically a question of ideas, ideals. Yeah, we should go back to ours. The Muslims in Gaza. They are deep inside their ideals, and money, even jobs. They won't change it. So it's a war. It's a war between nations. War is always between nations. They try to teach us for many years that there will be peace between Arabs and Jews in Israel. And there are only a few rotten apples in the big barrel. And if we will take them out, everything will be fine. But to think this way, you have to be a guy that sees no evil and hears no evil. Because they say loud and clear that we have to die, or at least not to be on this holy ground. It's not like to come as a police officer to the Bronx and look for the gangsters. And after there'll be no gangsters, there'll be peace in the neighborhood. The guys in Gaza, they voted for the Hamas.
For a reason. And it wasn't because they thought that they would clear the potholes and clear the streets better than...
Yeah, and I serve now in the north, but my friends from the south, they describe that almost every house that you enter to, you find a weapon or flags or whatever of Hamas. It's
a mobilized society.
Yeah, it's what their nation wants, and we have to decide what to do. What do we want?
You told a story on the program last weekend where you were saying that you told a story about what happened with Yonathan in officer training course, and that the commander, who was that, Khalifa, was he the commander then?
I'm not sure. I think it might be Fuchs.
Oh, really? So you, the Fuchs or Aaron Khalifa, one of the generals now in the general staff, that he was the commander of the training base. And he gave them a speech and talked about how, they have to prefer the lives of the Palestinian civilians over the lives of their own soldiers when they're in battle. Can you just, so that the concept that they were teaching the cadets to be commanders in the IDF is that their soldiers' lives were worth less than the lives of people in a mobilized society organized around the principle of eliminating Israel.
Yeah, this story is right. I don't think there's a reason to be very surprised.
Right.
Because
it's very telling about the message about where he was being promoted, what he was being promoted.
Yeah, but it's not a big surprise that this is what they're trying to teach us for many years. Here in Hollywood and everywhere. That war is passé. It's not time for wars anymore. So there are only conflicts, and everything is a question of narratives. And everyone has his truth, and all these truths have to find a way to live one near the other. No good or wrong, really. Just relatively.
And how did he respond to that?
No, he raised his hand and he said that for his opinion, he couldn't keep his opinion inside when he thought something is very wrong. For his opinion, the lives of his soldiers from his nation is much more important than the lives of the uninvolved civilians of the enemy.
And what happened?
The officer there said that it's a terrible thing to say from the
cadet.
Musari.
Oh, from a moral perspective.
From a moral perspective. And he asked in the hall, is there another guy that thinks the same? So after Yonathan said it loud and clear, most of the new officers in the hall raised their hands, and then the officer said, "Wow, I think we have a very, very big problem with this course."
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's sad, more basically sad.
Do you see that happening in this? Do you see all of this? The difference between the lower grade officers and the general staff in this war?
No doubt, no doubt. Even the declaring that we want to go on serving until winning. I'm a part of the movement that is called Amiluimnikim.
Of the reservists, yeah. We had, and we also had Gilad here, so you're with him also.
Yeah, and from the other side,
that you guys are demanding victory. By the way, I'm reading about you in my column right now, so there you go.
Victory, yeah, it's a word that Tzahal didn't use for many years. Victory.
Tzahal is the IDF.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's okay.
Victory means that the other side raises his hands up and say, "Please stop." Just like that was in Berlin in the 40s, or in Japan, the Second World War.
That they surrender.
Yeah, and now it's out of fashion to win. When we won on the 67 war, I remember there was I wasn't born yet, but I remember as a child there was a book of Ephraim Kishon that his name is Slicha Shenitzachnu. Sorry, I apologize for winning. Yeah, that's us. And it's time, if we want really to show the world a new language, we have to show how we use our both hands, like in Tai Chi movements. The left hand is the small ducha. We mark the lines. We say up to here and not more. We draw law and borders. And the right hand is Yamin Mekarevet.
Bringing them closer.
Bringing people closer and hugging them, loving them. If you work only with one hand, such kind of a John Lennon style, it's like trying to fly with one wing. It can make horrible things.
And that's where we've been. That's where we are.
Yeah, I think even I'm a family therapist. Even raising a child, if you're trying to use only one wing, only hugging and kissing without any order or schedule, you will develop a child that has a lot of issues. You need to use your both hands. The strong hand is the hand that hugs and taking everyone closer to you and showing your love and care. But you have to use your left hand too.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I think that the gap between Israel's sort of rulers, our ruling class, is particularly our general staff. It's very clear today, but others as well, the media.
And many ex-generals too.
Many ex-generals. Yeah. All the retired ones. It's amazing how they all agree on everything. It's amazing. What does that tell us about the nature of our army? That our generals are all in agreement about all the important issues.
Yeah, even of issues that not the military. You could see half a year ago, and all the Afghanot.
All the demonstrations against the government. Hundreds of signatures of former security chiefs.
And saying the same lines as if they were reading it from the same paper.
Maybe they were. But, you know, when you look at this, you know, here you are, you're 53 years old, you're wearing uniform of a reservist. You're supposed to be out of there already. You're supposed to be done with this racket by around 42. Where are you serving now?
In the north, the Mount of Hermon, Mount of Dov, Bear Mountain. It's the border with Lebanon. That's Hezbollah.
That you guys have been coming under a lot of fire there because
of course,
all the time.
We're under fire, and I'm afraid to say, but the way they show it on TV, that we are smashing them back, it's not what we soldiers see there.
What do you say?
It's very complicated to get shurim.
To get approval.
To shoot, to use the cannons, and it's not a war. It's a one-side war.
They're attacking us.
They're attacking. We're surviving. We're holding the line. Maybe we're buying time. I don't know, but we're not fighting. We're not fighting. We're just holding the line up. And
What do you think? The
soldiers are very aggravated, I can tell you that. And they're wonderful, wonderful soldiers. All of them came from home 109 days ago. I came a week after them because I had Shiva.
You just got up from the Shiva and went to the army.
Yeah, but the night between that and that, I had another son that got married. He's in the army too now, of course.
Where?
He's in the north. I have one son in the north and one son-in-law in the north and one son in Gaza.
So you guys are mobilized.
We do what we are told that is important to do.
And when you look at the situation here, I remember I had a monologue on this show. I think, I don't know, maybe the first one I did after October 7th, and I had seen an American Jewish dad was talking about the way that the Jews, his children on college campuses in the United States, were being attacked. And so somebody responded to his post saying, well, maybe it's time to make Aliyah. And he said, making Aliyah, the Israelis can't even protect their own kids. I mean, how are they going to protect mine? And it was, and I spent most of the monologue discussing that. But when you look at it, you got a son-in-law and two sons and yourself all mobilized, fighting or waiting to fight in the case of Mount Dov and the Hermon and the North in general. Your family made Aliyah from the United States in the 30s, and they left America. But what do you say to Jews in the diaspora that are under attack a way that most of them have never experienced before? But they look at Israel and they think, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're feeling more and more closed in, and some of them are feeling hopeless. I think that they're not quite sure what their options are moving forward. You're looking at this from your perspective, which is not a perspective. It's a perspective of paying great prices. What do you tell them?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you look at the material level, I don't know where is safe here. I'm not sure that here is safe more than Long Island. I guess it's much more safe than France. But in the States, it's uncomfortable to be a Jew now in the States. I know. I still have a few relatives in Long Island. But our story is a completely different story. We live and fight, sometimes even die, for this land, not because our dream is that this will be the finest, the nicest, the most safe place to the Jews. Because this is the right place for the Jews, because we are Jews. And we're not just another nation. We have responsibility to fulfill our journey. It's not a game. It's not a hobby. It's our mission. That's the reason our souls went down to this world into bodies. That's the reason that 3,500 years ago, our ancestors stood around Mount Sinai. That's our journey. And I'm not going to disappoint all of them. That's our journey. It's to be responsible. And if we get like lazy bones, well, we'll be damned. It's not for us to get lazy. Even if I can tell you, I always taught my children when they went to the army. I think I told you in that show too, that the first mission as being a soldier is to win against the enemy, to beat the enemy and save our nation and country. Second mission is to come home safely. Both missions are very important, but there mustn't be a mistake. First mission is to win and keep our nation, keep our land, keep our country safe. And when the two missions
clash
each to another, you have you have to be clear that you know what's your choice, what you have to choose. That's how I was raised by my parents. That's how I raised my children. I lost a magnificent child. I have a lot of pain, but I have no regrets. And I'm sure if he had to do it again and again, same decision, he would do the same decision again and again. He would run to his car early in the morning and drive like hell to his soldiers and fight the best he could fight on the way. And if he had to pay with his life, he would pay. If I could pay with my life instead of his life, I'd gladly do that, of course. I'm going to live until my last day with that giant hole in my heart. I even don't have the guts to look inside yet. It's too dark for me. But I have no regrets of how I raised my children, being a part of this nation and being on the side that who gives, not to ask, what am I getting back? It's not business. It's like making love. Making love is to give. Business is to see what I get and what I have to pay for what I get. When you're in a love state of mind, you want to give.
We're reading an important parsha in the Torah this week with the Geulah, with the crossing of the Red Sea. It's the beginning of our journey as free people from being slaves in Egypt. And a friend of mine this morning called me up, actually, the day that we were burying all the soldiers from the disaster in Khan Yunis. His daughter got married. She's also an officer, and her husband has been working as an army doctor. And it was very strange to be at this simcha, at this happy occasion in the middle of everything. And so he called me this morning and said that he had, that Rabbi Zaks, the late British chief rabbi, had written about the portion, and he said that the most amazing thing was, if you go to a summer camp or whatever, you know that it takes forever for kids to learn a song, learn all the words and be able to sing it together. And that the first thing that the Jews do when they cross the Red Sea and they become free is they all start singing, and they all know the words of the song of the sea. They knew it all their lives, and that he said that he sees in Israel, and he actually is from Toronto, he sees in Israel this unanimity that is very reminiscent, that he can't think of a time where there was clarity of purpose and one mind among so many Jews in his lifetime, and much before that as well, for many generations. And I said to him, yeah, but just like we're having the same conversation in different ways all the time about the gap. Like I said, I'm writing an article about it between the military leadership and the rank and file in the army and the people. And I said, yeah, but they had Moshe leading them.
As Yashir Moshe of Nice.
And he was saying with them, and it feels like that's not what's happening now. And how do you look at that? We're at this time when there's this unanimity of purpose. Where do you see this going?
I'm afraid
it's moving.
I'm afraid I'm not sure, because you can see the movements in the crowd. You can see the movements, people around me in the Miluim. You can see people.
Miluim is reserved, by the way. No, it's okay. That's what I'm here for.
But I can hear the same kind of music from the October 6th.
Among the people you're serving with?
No, among the leadership. Not only leadership of the army. leadership of this country. And I don't think it's a issue of politics. It's an issue of starting to speak a new language. Leadership, from my point of view, is based on being modest and humble.
Right, humility, humble, just like Moshe.
Yeah, without that, you can take a leader from the right wing or from the left wing. I don't know. If I thought that I have these specialties, being humble and being honest enough, and I would go there too, but I know that I'm not. And characters like me that are not with anava enough.
That are modest.
Yeah. Characters like me, there is enough in the politics. We are very thirsty for something really new, something that will make us feel that we are happy that this is my leader, and that he not only really cares about our situation, but really feels humble towards all our nation 3,500 years back, and who knows how many ahead. And I don't know. I feel that it's like tzirei lidah, birth.
It's the birth pangs.
Birth pains, and when in birth, I know I had 9 children.
9.
There's blood and pain and shouting and
lack of confidence,
unconfident,
uncertainty.
Yeah, and I hope it's a birth of something new. It wasn't easy until now. I don't think it will be an easy birth from here now. It started in Simchat Torah. Until that day, in the last almost a year, we're so divided, so much hatred. And so many little persons that spread poison between brothers for their small goals. I hope God will give us the sense and the strength to really push the last pushes of this birth to start something that will be really different, not more or better of the same, that was something that mishva mimala shniya.
Second degree formula.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I did.
In math.
Yeah, I know, in math. So somebody else has to explain it, but I don't know. I hope you're right. I think we are in a beginning of a new phase, and we'll just have to move forward. I saw an interview I actually quoted in my last show of Avida Bacha, who was one of the survivors of Be'eri. And he was in a secure room with his wife and his 2 children. One boy is 15 and his daughter is 13. And his wife and his son were killed, and he lost a leg, and so he was on TV, and he was giving his story, and he said that when we're looking forward, we have to realize that this is all a very strategic game. And what is strategy? How do you make strategy? You look to the future and you ask it, you imagine the future you want, and you ask what you have to do to get there. And, and I think that your understanding of the mission of the Jewish people and our ability to survive and our role here in this country and through this country in the world. I think it's central to that question of what the future is telling us that we have to do today. And having people with a vision of the understanding of the eternal nature of Jewish existence and trying to look to the future and see where it is. Because one of the things that was so amazing about Moshe was, Rabbi Sachs wrote in one of my favorite commentaries that he wrote, and he was just and that when Moses was speaking, he was speaking to us 3,300 years later. I mean, he saying, teach your children these things. And it was all about teaching and parents and children and how you instill these values. So it was all very, it was timeless. It was for all time. You're right. We have leaders who want to buy time, who give them more money and will buy time. We'll do this and we'll buy time.
Talking about mission is out of fashion too. Just like talking,
fashions have changed.
Just like talking about families is now on his way out from fashion. Even talking about a male and a female. So to talk about a nation, we'll have to reset ourselves to a new language that is a very ancient language.
Do you feel like we're going there?
I believe. The feeling is a feeling like everything is on a very, very thin
layer. Well, like it's a shifvat kikad.
כמו גשר צר מאוד מאוד, Rabbi Nachman said, all the world is like a very narrow bridge. So it's very narrow now. We're afraid that we'll slip down, that we won't get to the end of the bridge. But we have our emunah, our faith in God, and the faith of our Jewish journey, and our journey as human beings. It's not for nothing. It's for a very, very good and important goal.
I agree with you. I think it was not by chance, hopefully, that we met last week and that you were able to come here and share your son's story, Yonathan Zur, with my audience. I really appreciate it, and you have a hard journey ahead of you too. But God's help will move it.
Thanks. I just want to tell you, it's my honor to meet you and to talk with your audience. Brothers, even if one lives here, one lives abroad, we're all brothers, and I hope my words will get to someone.
You never know. I'm sure they will, though. They certainly reached me, so I'm sure that they reached you guys too, right? So anyway, I really appreciate it, and your family should be blessed with peace and with many years of happiness and many children and grandchildren and Yonathan's children. How many?
He has 3 children.
They should grow in his spirit.
Amen.
Well, thank you very much. And guys, I'll see you again next week. So take care and Shabbat Shalom.